Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, the election has been over for nearly a month now. They're still counting some votes, believe it or not, in California. And finally, one of the very few times one of these things ends up going our way, Donald Trump went out there and he flipped Imperial County, which voted for Hillary Clinton by like 40 points in 2016. Donald Trump becoming the first Republican in decades to win Imperial County, California. An absolute just realignment taking place. It's a very Hispanic county. We saw a lot of this shift in like South Texas in 2020. Now we're seeing it all over the place. And the dam is just breaking for Democrats. And that's one of the many ways the dam is breaking for Democrats. And we talked about this a little bit, in some videos here and there. But Democrats really have a problem because the party registration data just overall is not moving in their direction anywhere, including in many key states where Democrats just barely held on to or were much closer than expected. States like New Jersey, states like New Mexico, and still we have new data. People are registering to vote, obviously, for the next election, but we have a decent chunk of the population that has registered recently. And a lot of these are first-time registrations. A lot of them are young voters, disaffected voters, people who don't usually turn out. And they are registering as Republican, and it's eating into the Democrat advantage in certain states where it's like, yeah, Democrats have to be just absolutely panicking. And it is true that party registration does not necessarily equal votes. And we've seen that before. Arkansas or Kentucky, they were heavily Democrat until just a few years ago, I believe. I think Louisiana was another one, but they've been red states. But that kind of trend is shifted. And once you reach a certain point in the party registration, like we saw in Florida in 2020, like we saw in even Pennsylvania this year, Arizona, when a lot of people said, oh, those are just McCain Republicans. It's like, no, these are mainly newly registered Republicans. There's so many of them. You can't ignore it. You can't ignore the data. Same thing for Nevada. And you look at what took place in those two states, and there's really no signs of it slowing down. If anything, it's accelerating in certain places, the places Democrats don't really need to be bleeding any more support in. And Donald Trump, on the other hand, his stock is definitely going up. He's becoming more popular after he won. That's a very good thing. But we want to talk about the data and what this means. But really quickly, we have an important announcement because today is Cyber Monday. And for a limited time on the merch store, the merch is back. We have a deal. You can buy 2, get 1 free. You can buy 5, get 2 free. Any category of item. They can be mixed and matched. We have all these epic new arrivals. We have these epic mugs, the Doge Black Ceramic mug, the Unburdened by What Has Been with the Election Map mug, the I'll Be Home for Christmas Trump at the White House mug. We have all this and more. We have Christmas ornaments. We have t-shirts, hoodies, crew neck sweatshirts, long sleeve tees, blankets, posters, wrapping paper, scented candles, and hats. We got all these 5-star reviews. And I will tell you guys, if you're thinking about getting a present for somebody for Christmas, now is the time while this deal is going on. It is Cyber Monday. You can get up to 40% off today only at shop.redeaglepolitics.com. Just another 8 hours to go, guys. The link will be in the description and pinned comment down below. We talk about great deals, and when you have a big party registration advantage in an election, you have a great deal. Democrats in Florida for a while were able to remain competitive. Not anymore. That dam broke. You saw it in Arizona. You saw it in Nevada. There's no registration data in Texas. They don't register by party ID, but if they did, I'm sure you would see that too, and it's possible that they may start doing it. They might start closing the primaries. We'll see about that. But North Carolina even has showed it. Just every single state except like Colorado, which still move right, by the way, showed Republicans gaining significantly on the Democrats. And now we look at the election map and where it stands today. How is the next election going to go? Well, we got a long time, but we can kind of see how certain states are going to move. And when you look at a state like New Mexico, Donald Trump fell short by just 55,000 votes in New Mexico. He lost it by 100,000 votes 4 years prior. Now, Republicans gained a decent amount in the voter registration data, not a ridiculous amount, but a decent amount, and that definitely played a role in making the state closer. Some of it's going to be persuasion, but it really just comes down to turnout first and foremost over anything else, and we see that. And when you look at the numbers of what we're seeing just in the last month after the election, November, Republicans gained a net 9,000 new registrations already. So they only need to get 46,000 more over the next 4 years. That's like 10,000 per year, essentially. You're talking about like less than 1,000 per month. If you break it down, like that's what it would take to flip these states. You got to keep working at it. I tell people this that are working on the ground. You can't take your feet off the gas because the election is over even. But when you look at this data, it's like New Mexico is changing. This is not the state that it was even in 2020. You talk about the Hispanic voters in New Mexico and how they're moving, the Native American voters, a lot of white working class voters still in the state of New Mexico. Like, you do have a lot of like college educated whites in like Albuquerque, Santa Fe, but even then you talk about where the votes are and you talk about the big vote centers, places like Albuquerque, like Bernalillo County right there, however you pronounce that, it still moved to the right this election cycle because certain demographics move right more than certain demographics are moving left. And it's true, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 years, but you talk about like a neutral national environment. You have a realignment happening where certain states are going to be much more competitive and possibly could flip from blue to red. It's possible if New Mexico goes. That's absolutely huge because, it's only 5 electoral votes, but it's padding. Republicans could technically lose the entire Rust Belt if they win the state of New Mexico. They still end up winning the election, and there's no guarantee they lose the Rust Belt either. People will talk about like the trends or whatever. It's kind of tough to talk about the trends in this election from like a state compared to the national environment when certain states like New York, California, Florida, Texas, they move right off a cliff. And a lot of that was because of Hispanic voters. And another state with a lot of Hispanic voters and a lot of like more ancestrally Democrat working class ethnic whites is New Jersey. And the data we have out of New Jersey is not as impressive compared to the data we saw out of New Mexico. But when you look at this, by a 3-1 margin, Republicans are out registering Democrats 4,000 already since the election. That is 4,000. That's 48,000 a year. You times it by 4, you get close to around 200,000. We're not even in election season. It's going to ramp up a lot when you get a lot closer to election season. But New Jersey itself was decided by 260,000 votes, but still that's much closer. It went from a 17-point Biden win. I think it was like a 12 or 13-point Hillary win. Maybe it was 11, but still this is a massive shift towards Donald Trump and the Republicans. The governorship possibly could be in play. It could flip Republican even if Donald Trump is going to be in the White House come 2025, which is just next November. It's probably one of the most prominent elections next year, just with Virginia, and also Wisconsin has another Supreme Court election that could be consequential. We'll see if we're able to get our ground game out in these off-year elections, but still, regardless, one thing that we can see is that New Jersey, just like New York City moved right, New Jersey, certain parts of the New York City Metro, Newark move right, Passaic County flipped Republican, moved right by 19 points. I mean, you're seeing a tremendous shift in the state. And it's true that we don't know how much this is going to continue, but there is reason to believe that if everything goes right for Republicans, they could win New Jersey in the future, which would be absolutely huge for them because they're taking a state with a sizable population that nobody really thought was going to be all that and then turn it from a solid blue state into a state that's remotely competitive and possibly even a red state in the future. Absolutely a huge development. And it's a very suburban state. But the people that talk about the suburbs seemingly don't understand how suburbs work. And it's true, you have a lot of like college-educated white liberal types, But there's only so many of them. You also have college-educated conservatives. A lot of younger college-educated people are leaning to the right. A lot of younger people are leaning to the right. A lot of younger minority groups are leaning to the right. The question is, where do the Democrats go from here? Because a party cannot take this massive bleeding of party registration, because if you lose a state and the dam breaks, you might lose that state for a generation. Look at Florida. Look at possibly what's even happening in Arizona, which turned a massive corner. You know, Arizona, Republicans had to lead Democrats before 2020. They chipped away at it, and then it did a complete reverse boomerang. You look at Nevada, it's like Republicans are building a coalition that so far, if there's nothing that drastically changes on the other side, it's going to be built to win and compete for generations. And the Democrats, they may have to lose for a generation to like fully rebuild because their brand is just completely tarnished. Now you have Biden going out there pardoning his son, which again, in a way you could say that it just could embolden Trump to do things like, you know, holding certain people in government accountable, and he's going to be able to get away with it more just because he could point to that. You could say, you know, he could pardon certain people that the Democrats might not want pardoned, and he could get away with that more than he wouldn't have been able to. But either way, Democrats are in complete and total disarray. They don't know how to handle the woke debacle. Either way, regardless of whatever they do, it seemingly tarnished their brand for a lot of people. And, you know, a lot of people on the Democrat side were very confident going into this election because it was, you know, a make or break election, but they were winning all these special elections or midterms or whatever, and they still might do well in special elections. I'm not saying they're not going to, but absolutely, this is a reality check. Just a complete and total beatdown that we saw last month. But not only that, Republicans are continuing the momentum in these key states, and they're flipping states red continuously, even beyond this election. Already you're seeing the signs there in several states, and if that is to take place, it's just embarrassing for the Democrats, because they're going to really need to do a lot of self-reflection and probably lose several elections in the process before they can really find a lane. Otherwise, they'll be relegated to being a regional party, and that's never a good thing. But again, politics changes, it's ever changing, and it is very possible that they can get their act together one day. But as of right now, you would much rather be a Republican than a Democrat in terms of the future prospects of the party. So anyways, guys, make sure you like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.